Hello, Nole fans.
Hello, Nole fans.
Man, that was something else, Vince. I have strong feelings about what we saw and what we didn't see. I imagine that the letdown with the 80-20 fan base in the stadium is probably something to behold.
Yeah, I don't know, 80-20. It's kind of tough to tell, but I mean, that doesn't matter. One of the things that was really frustrating, aside from not winning the game, is that, and this is sour grapes a little bit, I guess, but the DJ just playing a bunch of crap music the whole game. And then the Georgia Tech band was mic'd too. So, like, you couldn't even hear yourself think it was so loud. But that all being said, the crowd was definitely Florida State heavy, at least probably 65, 70%, I would think.
Vince, I just posted this on X, and I'm going to lay it out there clear as day for our audience. This is the first time I've ever said this in the history of Garnet Old since Mike Norvell has joined. This game is on Mike Norvell, and I'll tell you why. When something is working, yeah, sure, let's run it, right? But when something's not working, clearly, meaning the running game in the second half, when you're in 3rd and 9 and it hasn't been working all night and you run up the middle for no gain multiple times, and then you compare that to when you actually throw the ball and you're very, hey, man, you hit a lot of good passes. What are you doing? So I put a lot of this game squarely on the shoulders of Mike Norvell being way too conservative in play calling, maybe trying to protect DJ earlier. But listen, the guy's been through the ringer, and I thought DJ was actually one of the very few bright spots. I thought, aside from taking maybe 2 unnecessary sacks, I thought when he did throw the ball, he overall is exactly what I expected. He just wasn't given the opportunity to do that enough. Vince, do you agree with me?
I guess to a point, I guess. Here's what I will say. They were not as efficient as they needed to be. And there were a couple particular running plays that really kind of threw me for a loop. Once that first play where they got in the eye and ran it's kind of tough to tell what was going on from where I was. I don't know if it was a pull or whatever, but totally blown up. Then they ran it again and it got blown up again.
Right. That's what I mean.
So that's, to me, that is an indicator that we have farther to go than maybe we thought. Now, first game, bunch of new people. And if you want to lay it at Norvell's feet, I think they were prepared, right? I don't think they were. I think they were prepared. They weren't efficient, but they were locked in. But the plays just weren't there, man. The running game was not.
This is one of the few times I'll strongly disagree. I think they game plan the heck out of this to the point of stubbornness with running the ball.
Could be.
And I think he ran to spite himself in the 3rd and 4th quarter because, listen, that drive where we had to open it up because we were down a touchdown in the 4th quarter, throw after throw, DJ on the money, man. On the money. Ja'Kai Douglas making the catches I always am excited to see him play. And he makes those big catches. It just wasn't enough. And you know when you're playing a team like Georgia Tech and you know that all day long they're having success. There wasn't a single drive where I'm like, man, I'm not worried at all about their offense. They were running the ball and draining 6 minutes off the clock each and every single drive. When that's the case and you're feeling like you're playing behind at all times, which is what it felt like most of the game, you need to open up the playbook and you need to let your playmakers go out and make plays. I didn't like the conservative nature. I think he ran to spite himself, and this is the first game I've ever said I think it's squarely on his shoulders as far as play calling.
One of the things that because the running game didn't get going is because they couldn't get into a rhythm, right? And so when you are behind the chains, and let's just say, DJ did a pretty good job when he had to make a play. He did, but there just wasn't any kind of rhythm in the calling in general, which again is very unusual.
Yeah, now I'm going to call a few people out in the chat, not in a bad way, just in a playing devil's advocate. A few people, Vince, in the chat calling out the defense. Do I think they had a great game? Absolutely not. I don't think they had a great game. I think it would be impossible. It'd be impossible to defend that. But I'm here to tell you guys, if you go back to last year, look how many points per game. Just go strictly points per game that Georgia Tech averaged. And with the last-second field goal, they got to 24 points. If you look at most of the predictions by all of the experts out there, Florida State people, non-Florida State people, anywhere from 17 to 28 points was the prediction of how many points Georgia Tech would score. Georgia Tech scored and did exactly what we knew they were going to try to do and what most people predicted they were going to do. And I don't think it's a softness issue or a issue with size or not having enough talent. I think when you play a team like Georgia Tech, weird offense, a lot of misdirection, and let's be honest, he played out of his mind. Quarterback played out of his mind.
What did I say before? The way this game is going to go sideways, if that kid who is highly talented,
yeah,
and you go back and listen to the show, you'll hear me say it, is if he plays out of his mind. And he had a great game.
There were multiple times where they had him dead to rights.
Right.
He made it.
Right. So, but not only with the running, like he hit a couple, two, maybe three important passes. He didn't have to throw the ball a lot.
Right.
There were a couple that were really garbage passes too, by the way. So it was very much a sink or swim kind of thing, right?
Sure.
But he happened to hit the ones that were there for him, and you got to give it to him, right? You got to give it to him. The kid played well, and I don't want to say he single-handedly beat this team.
He did.
It's kind of a combination of his ability, and I'm not going to say I agree with you totally with the premise, but there's going to need to be, a maturation with the coaching staff as far as maybe it's confidence level with the players that they have now.
I'm going to say, Vince, that if you had the exact same shots or potential shots at getting the quarterback on the ground with almost every other quarterback we have on our schedule,
of course,
that he goes down and that's a sack, multiple sacks potentially. It's a case, guys. Do you think Alabama, when they played Johnny Manziel, was terrible defense, or did Johnny Manziel just play out of his mind that day? Haynes King had that kind of day.
Well, listen, we weren't playing any other quarterback; we were playing him.
Right.
So,
he had that kind of day,
and that's the difference. That's the major difference in the game. And I can't say that. Somebody said I don't think the defense is. They look soft.
No, I don't agree.
I don't think that's it at all.
They were not soft. No.
Hey, they got beat today.
Guys,
got beat today.
Go back and look at Georgia Tech, and a lot of people bring up their record last year, but look at who they lost to and how they lost to those teams. Guys, they gave Georgia a scare. The same Georgia that beat us by 50 in a bowl game, whether we like to hear that or not. They gave a lot of really good teams, elite teams, a lot of problems last year, and clearly their defense was better today than last year. So hats off to that defensive hire with the new coordinator there, because clearly it was an improvement, and their offense was already number one in the ACC in scoring. So what I attribute this to, Vince, this is a classic setup game where a team runs the ball in a very, very annoying fashion, very much like Paul Johnson used to do with the triple option. And I hated playing them because you get so frustrated because you almost make the stop, you almost hit the quarterback, and before you know it, they run 7 minutes off the clock and they're still going on the same drive. And so you have very few opportunities, which is why Vince frustrated me so badly on our refusal to open up and throw the ball, because we were successful when we did. And when you have a team that's going to run the ball and going to run the ball down your throat, Vince, when we scored that touchdown in the fourth quarter, I said, oh, we have 6 minutes left, the exact same amount of time their Georgia Tech's last drive was. And it's exactly what happened.
Yeah, you got a couple things. There weren't going to be a lot of opportunities to kind of to gain a possession. They didn't fall on the ball, right? They didn't fall on the ball. They had a fumble in their grasp. They couldn't fall.
That's what I was going to say. That's the play of the game, in my
And
opinion.
then
the missed fumble.
And then, Georgia Tech almost craps the bed right at the end of the game by fumbling the snap. And if that kid's not the athlete he is, then, we're probably falling on that ball. But they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So
I only have one other complaint, Vince. My one other complaint.
Hold on one second. Hold on a second, Ryan.
I'm going to mute you. I muted you, Vince. So, guys, my one other complaint in the game is that look at the first drive and how they used Lucas as a running back and how they used him with a lot of motion. And then they stopped putting him in until the fourth quarter. It was like they were like, no, that really great thing that worked really well where the player had elite speed and could cut back and make everyone miss. We'll do it all in the first drive, and then we'll wait to the very end of the game to try and involve him again. Vince, where was Lucas after them utilizing him so heavy in the first drive? What happened?
Well, I mean, they couldn't get him the ball. I don't know what else to say. I mean, they were running.
In the game.
Oh, well, it's tough to tell from where I was sitting.
It was a whole lot of he was on the field for almost every snap, Vince, in the first drive where we scored the touchdown. And then it was Toa Philly and Roydell the rest of the game, and he wasn't injured. And then they bring him in at the last two drives with some trying to do a few more gadget plays. But then it's we're playing from behind. I'm just thinking that guy clearly electric. We texted each other after that first drive. Maybe they were just worried about like, hey, they have these plays that they're confident to run with them, and then that'll be it. But man, when you need something, that guy has a spark. But my biggest takeaway, Vince, I'll end with this, Vince, as far as my takeaways go. I thought the defense played fine enough to win a game. 24 points, holding Georgia Tech to 24 points is right around what everyone predicted we would hold them to. The problem was we did not score the points that we all predicted that we would score. And I think you attribute that directly to bad play calling. And that's the story of the game for me.
They thought, and we've heard about it all off season, the depth of the line, how experienced the line is. And they didn't open holes like we expected. We expected them to. And that's a problem, I didn't expect that to happen. That wasn't an area of the team that has a bunch of new people, right? So what is it about that for some reason it did not happen? You've got to give them credit. We'll see what the rest of the year brings, but at least for today, they did not open holes like we expected them to.
What's funny is, aside from there was one play in which they kind of let the doors open. One time, DJ just held the ball too long. But overall, pass pro was no problem. I thought DJ had plenty of time to throw, and he made some good throws tonight. I mean, my boy, Jakai was getting some work. I appreciated him performing, and Malik Benson had a huge catch. So Vince, here's the problem now. When you look at a football season, you say, okay, the 12-team playoff, that's great because we have more opportunities. You just blew one of your freebies.
Yep.
You only got one left.
Pretty much.
And you got to play Notre Dame. You got to play Clemson. You got to play Miami. You got to play Florida. And so the rest of the season, what they have to do is find what their identity is. And I hate to tell everyone out there, for as much as we heard that the receivers are a potential concern, and that this is going to be a run-focused team. From what my eyes told me, Vince, I saw more capability as far as pass protection and receivers making play on the passing game than I did see a dominant running game. And I think in the long run, on the other side of the ball, Vince, when we're not playing a gadget offense, I think the defense will be just fine. I have zero concerns about the defense. I think people are overblowing it just because it was annoying watching a team like Georgia Tech move the ball, but they do that on everyone, and you held them to exactly what you predicted you would hold them to.
Yeah, so if you do that, then you got to count on, putting some points on the board to do what that side of the ball needs to do.
Right.
And you can say they should have stuck more with the pass. And you're right. The throws he had, most of them were really good. There were a couple that were a little strange. And Cam Davis dropped one that, he's new. You can't really blame him for that.
It was
first
early
game
in the
jitters
game,
or whatever. It was early in the game. The identity, whatever the identity is, they thought it was going to be run. And at least from this game, they've got some work to do. But let's talk about some bright spots, right?
Yeah,
Ryan Fitzgerald.
Ryan
My
Fitzgerald, he's great. In fact, we would not have even been looking at a tie or potentially at the end of the game if he hadn't hit two major field goals, and that 2-point conversion in the first drive of the game I thought was huge. So we're talking about if you add up those two field goals and the 2-point conversion, you're talking about a 7-point difference from what it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
So the score really could have been, something more like 24-14 or something like that.
Sure.
If you don't do that. But I would say my bright spots, of course, Fitzgerald. That's the go-to answer. But I'm going to also say, Vince, Lucas, please get him involved more. He's going to be a dominant back. I really believe that. And then finally, I don't know. I had texts, even from friends of ours, Vince, about man, quarterback sucks. Guys, he wasn't given the opportunity. And when he did, he made big-time throws. That last drive, we had 3 fourth-down conversions that his passes made the difference. So when he was allowed to throw, I thought DJ looked poised. He never looked panicked. And I thought he played exactly what he was coached to do. He's not Jordan Travis. You're not going to see him scrambling and running around, guys. But what you are going to see is consistent, good quarterback play. It's just that we leaned too heavily on a run game, bashing our head against the wall when it wasn't working.
Yeah. So you blame, the loss is a loss, and there's reasons for the loss. There always is. So is the loss on the defense? Not really.
Nope.
Is the loss on the special teams? No, actually, they were a bright spot. Is the loss on the passing game? No, it's not really. I don't know how many yards we ran for, but I think they were expecting more.
Yeah.
And Georgia Tech continues to hold the ball. The clock continues to wind down, and you ran out of time. You had a couple opportunities to get the ball back. And, you hold them, something leaks out. You hold them, something leaks out. So am I disappointed in the loss? Of course. I mean, I'm halfway around the world, although it's been a lot of fun. I'm going to have some fun tonight too. Yeah. But ultimately is first game season. And the talent is on the team.
Yeah.
And this coaching staff, who I am confident in, has to understand how to get the best out of these guys.
Yeah. My big picture takeaway is not about this game, but as a whole, Vince. This is a classic. Mike Norvell goes back, uses this as a teaching moment, and then we come out and dominate the next 3 weeks.
I hope.
No, this feels like the type of situations we've been in 2 years ago where we're all scratching our head and saying, what was that? And then we say, oh, well, we're not going to do that again. Let's change up the playbook. Let's change up what we run. And he didn't know until the bullets start flying who this team was going to be. And now he probably has a much better understanding of what that team's going to be. And secondly, I fully believe, Vince, that the kinds of shenanigans that we saw out of Haynes King You have, of course, plenty of talented quarterbacks that we will play against, but that is a gadget offense. It just is. And everyone hates playing gadget offenses, which is exactly why, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, I hate playing top teams the first game of the year. I would 10 out of 10 times play a softball game, like I'm talking like an FCS team, and then go to your big game the next week like most teams in America do. I prefer that because when you're breaking in a bunch of new players, you need to work out the kinks. And when you're going to, now, kudos to Georgia Tech, man. They brought it. I told my dad, I'm not even mad about, like, it's not like, man, we got blown off by this awful team. Like, Georgia Tech's going to be a problem this year in the ACC. I'm very confident in that.
Yeah, I'm not, faulting them at all. I mean, congratulations to them. They did it, and they've got a decent team, and they're going to give people some problems, and the reasons are the same reason they gave us problems. But also, there's some growth, going back to it, there's some growth that has to happen on this team. And we can all say, and we said, hey, we sent these guys to the pros. We got all these guys that are coming in, but how much real returning experience, except for the line, they've got to figure out the best way to optimize what they have. And I know they will. It's just, but Georgia Tech played a great game today. And, other than their band being mic'd, which again was ridiculous, crowd was great. It was cold. It rained a little bit. It was rain, sunny. I was freezing for a while, but I wasn't baking in the sun. So,
yeah. Well, Vince, next week it's another game, Labor Day night, which is good because I feel like obviously every college football fan in the world just saw us lose to Georgia Tech, which sucks. But the good news is next Monday, every college football fan in the world will be watching us play Boston College on Labor Day night. So I look at that, and I think the team should look at that as a redemption game to go out and prove that they figured some things out. So let's get back to practice. Vince and I will do this.
Yeah, they gotta get back and get better, for the next game. I mean, it's, if we continue, if they don't grow from here, then, we won't have to worry about two losses. There are going to be more. But again, the season is just beginning. This isn't the old days where, you get one loss and everybody, puts it in the tank. Congratulations.
Now we only have one loss left.
No, I get it.
Most importantly, Vince, is we have a conference loss right now.
Ryan, it's all going to be fine. It's all going to be fine.
I hope so, brother. But listen, let's let you get back to it, Vince. We're going to do the Garnold show 7:00 this Thursday, and we're both going to be in Tallahassee for Labor Day. I got my hotel, Vince, so if I'm going to be there Sunday. I don't know when you plan on arriving or if you figured out that far ahead, but I might try to post where I'm at, see if anyone wants to come say hello to me Sunday night before the game next week. But guys, Knowles, it was a tough loss, but all you can do is get ready for next week. And I promise everyone this: if next week you go out and dominate, it feels a lot better than it does right now. So keep those heads up and still send the Chiefs all the damn time because we heard the band the whole night.
Yeah, you got to build. You got to build from this, and it's no different than anytime you get knocked. You get knocked down. Ask Rocky. What did Rocky do when he got knocked down?
Yep. And listen, guys, don't be annoyed when you see Miami and Florida.
You're gonna wear it, people. We're all gonna wear it for a little bit.
We're gonna wear it for 1 week, but then next week, a lot of ranked teams are playing other teams. And this is how it's going to be. So when Miami loses or Florida loses or
one of them is going to lose,
or Texas A&M or any of these fan bases, they're going to be right here with us in the doldrums for now. Let's rebound. Still sending Chiefs all the damn time. Still no inside info, no contacts, no problem. And always screw ESPN. Vince, go Knowles, brother, even in a loss.
Go Knowles, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks. We got another game coming next week.